West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Mashal St. Patrick Hewitt, and with me as ever is my partner in crime, Santoki Nagilendran. Santoki, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, Mash. Looking forward to this one. It's been a long time in the making, and it reminds me, Mash, the last time we had the West Indies women's head coach on the show was none other than Courtney Walsh, and he's been the first and only guest that's given us an interview while driving a car at the same time. He said, no time for health and safety. I'm out here driving and doing an interview. We've checked with our current guest, Mash, and he's stationary, so it's all good. So without further ado, do you want to introduce who we have on the show?
Yeah, we promised everyone at the start of 2025, we said, right, we're going back to a mix of the old model and the new model where we're getting on as many kind of key stakeholders, guests on as possible to just, understand what goes on behind the scenes with West Indies cricket. And this is an interesting one, Santoki, because obviously by the title, people already have clicked it. They'll know what this video is about. But I sometimes feel that with the West Indies women's setup, everything is so reductive around talking about Hayley, and obviously Hayley's brilliant, and she's setting so many records. But there's so much more to the women's setup than just focusing on Hayley and the exploits of her exploits and Deandra, etc. So we're super excited to get on the West Indies women's head coach, Shane Deitz, who's going to talk to us about, what he's achieved thus far in the role. Obviously, he's moved over to the Caribbean, and how he's found the experience, what he hopes to kind of achieve further with the women's team. We've seen some amazing highs, Santoki. People might have forgotten we got to a World Cup semi-final only a few months ago. So we've seen some amazing highs under Shane's tutelage, and obviously there's a lot more to come. So without any further ado, we're going to bring Shane onto the show, and let's chop it up and get into it. Welcome, Shane. How you doing?
Good, gents. How are you guys traveling?
We're doing very well. And Shane, I'm going to let the audience know. We won't pretend. So people, we'll just let you a little joke here. We had Shane on, and we were talking to Shane before pressing record. And Shane just started the podcast before we even press record. Shane had started the podcast, so we had to stop him mid-flow and say we haven't even pressed record yet, Shane. But,
I've got some chicken jerk pork downstairs from a local vendor. I'm starving, so I want to get on with it, mate. So I'm trying to get into that jerk chicken, jerk pork. Smells brilliant. So I'm dying up here. I need something to eat, mate. Hurry up. Let's get on with it.
Let's get straight into it then, Shane. So obviously you've been in the job a bit of time now. And I think it's important that we do understand first things first. You were coaching the Netherlands women's team. What made you want to take the leap to coach? When the job came up, what made you want to take the leap to taking over the West Indies women's side?
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of a story before that, I guess. I was sort of around New Zealand, coaching men's cricket, New Zealand under-19s, first-class cricket, a lot of different roles, and I've been around the world, Bangladesh, a few other places, but I've got a Dutch wife, so the opportunity to go back to the Netherlands, she'd been away for 10 years with me traveling the world. That was a chance we took to go back there, and lucky a job come up in cricket, so I could stay there. And we just had a baby, and life was good in the Netherlands, as I alluded before. And then, I've always said there's only one job in the world I really want to do, is that's go to the West Indies and coach the West Indies cricket. As being an Aussie in the 80s, West Indies was the number one team and everyone's favourite team. As I said before, Larry Gomes was my favourite. I still don't know why, but I think he was left-hander. But my first day of cricket was at the SCG and he made 100. So that was about 84, I think. And so I think that's why I favoured Larry Gomes. But yeah, so when the opportunity came up, I spoke with Jimmy Adams and then, went through the interview process, and lucky enough and privileged enough to have the honour to be here and coach a great set of girls. And so far it's been a good experience. I think I'm the first outside West Indies coach the ladies have had. So my first job was probably gaining trust and proving that I'm here for them and going to make them better as individuals and better as a team. So we're striving towards to do that at the moment. And it's going so far. I'm pretty happy with with the outcomes, some highs and some lows, but that's how cricket goes sometimes.
You know what, Shane? So it's a common theme in cricket. Obviously, we talk about the inequalities in cricket, the gap in resources in terms of West Indies compared to, India, Australia, England. I think that's something that's not going to change. That's always going to be sort of a permanent way cricket has gone at the moment. But obviously, you coming from the Netherlands, where you were the first full-time head coach and it's an associate nation, how did you find the jump going from there to West Indies women in terms of the setup? Was there a big improvement with West Indies being a full member nation and the resources they had compared to what you'd previously worked with?
Yeah, sort of gone full circle because I was in, obviously, New Zealand, set up before that and played first class in Australia. So I know the highest level, but I was also in a place called Vanuatu for a long 7 years, actually, as coach and CEO. And, the big difference is when the balls get out of the net into the creek or the river, I don't have to go fetch them this time because I've got enough money to buy extra balls. But in this ocean country, like little things like just having balls for training and things you take for granted here is a big, big difference. So I find it easier. I don't worry about what we haven't got. It's what we've got and what we can utilize and make the most of, because that's what I've had to do, probably the last 10 years of my career, is make sure we get value for our buck and maximize every dollar we do spend in our program so we can get the benefit. Because, India and those countries have got more resources, etc. But at the end of the day, when we go out in the middle and play, in a World Cup game, etc., it's 11 players versus 11 players. So that's all we've got to worry about. So no excuses. We're just going to maximize what we have got. And also we've got some great advantages that other countries don't have too. So we're going to make sure we use those advantages and make the most of what we got and be competitive no matter what.
Similarly with the Santoki spoke about the gap between like associate and full member, but then there's leagues within the full member leagues. So like, let's use the Australian setup. I know that's the top of the top. What is it about the Australian setup for women's cricket that makes them so good? They've just smashed England in the Washes. What makes their setup so good as compared to everybody else's?
Well, I started at a younger age, so they've got what we would call regionals here, state cricket, under 16s, which is a full tournament carnival situation where they play for a number of weeks, and that starts at under 16 level. So by the time you get under 19s, they've got a full system in place for their under 19 regional state cricket, and obviously have a full cricket season in state level, which we obviously have our regional tournament coming up next week. Which goes for 2 weeks. And then there's another T20 tournament later, which is 2 weeks. So that's 4 weeks of cricket, really competitive cricket that we have. But they have a 5-month, 6-month season, which play regular cricket week in, week out, and chuck in the Big Bash in there as well. So they've just got a lot more competitive cricket for longer periods of time and from a younger age. So that's going to be difficult to ever replicate that. But we're going to also make strides in trying to get a lot more cricket at that younger age. So when girls are 19, 20 coming into the senior team, their knowledge and basics of the game is a lot better than trying to learn the game of cricket at international level, which is sort of happening at the moment.
Mm.
We saw, I think it was 2023, the West Indies Women's Academy sort of launched. Sort of how closely you've been working from there, and have you started to see some of the development with that age range entering the academy?
Yeah, well, I think it's the second or third year where there's some academy contracts. We're still going through a process of restructuring that a bit more. So, because at the moment when I first arrived, the coach was sort of sitting here in Antigua, but all the players were all over the different countries. So his time to work with the ladies was very, very limited, which made the job really nearly impossible. So, and then the structures within each country, that's where the coaching and the work's got to be done. So that's what we're trying to do now, get good quality coaches working with those girls week in, week out for a 12-month period program. And that's going to be the key. That's going to change things, I think, moving forward. Just getting all the players working in a properly organised, structured program for 12 months, along with what we're doing in the national team. So that's what we're working towards now.
You recently, and I just presumed, I mean, you can give us the inside story. There was recently that initiative last November where Cherry Ann Fraser, Janilla Glasgow, Shanisha Hector, Katie Wilmot went out to Australia. Now, I'm presuming you had a big say in that. How did that all come about? Was it you pitching it, and what was the purpose behind? How did you get to that idea to say, I want to do this? I believe this is something that will seriously help take our cricket forward.
Yeah, well, there's a number of things. Yeah, I did pitch it to Cricket West Indies, and they were great enough to support the idea. Just getting started with the team, I worked out with there's a couple of places that we really need to improve. And as I sort of said before when we were chatting, that West Indies cricket, the great teams have always got quality fast bowlers. So we need to be, well, one of our key things has got to be fast bowling, particularly ODI cricket with the 2 new balls. And swing is a massive play in women's cricket with the new ball. The 2 new balls coming in this ODI World Cup later in the year is a real crucial part of the tactics. We need to, when we went to India, we lost wickets to the new ball and didn't take any with the new ball. So that's a key area. I think our fast bowlers weren't getting a lot of opportunity, spin bowled a lot of the overs, so they weren't getting that development at international level or opportunity to play good cricket. So 4 fast bowlers, I thought, were probably the first pick to be able to go away and work on their skills, fitness, all those sorts of things in a good competitive environment, and good club cricket, and also have access to the Big Bash teams training with the state team, Tasmania, and the Hobart Hurricanes Big Bash team. And also our great bowling coach, Damien Wright, is from Tasmania. So he's based in Hobart. Used to coach the men's Hurricanes team and Tasmania men's team. So he had all the systems all set up for those girls to come and work on their particularly fast bowlers, to come work at their game and have opportunities to play and will train with the state team and play good club cricket. And they played a bit of men's cricket there as well. So that's how it all came about. Just really wanted to strengthen our fast bowling stocks, because I think that's an area we need to improve on and make it a big weapon for us. So those girls went there, and all reports they did really well. Cherry's come back and Glasgow's come back looking really good too. So I think it's so far has been a positive outcome for those girls in particular.
Yeah, no, you just mentioned Janilla Glasgow. I think she took 3 for 15 against Bangladesh recently in the series that we had, and it's interesting because is it, as a coach, yes, you want to see great performances and you want to see, that's had a real massive impact on Cherry Ann, it's had a real massive impact on Janilla, etc. But what else are you looking for beyond? Because it's not just about performance. What else were you hoping to see that stint had kind of had an impact on?
That's a great question, because that's exactly what we're looking for. Besides getting a bit more professional and knowing their bodies and all that sort of thing, going to those clubs, they were all of a sudden the superstars, or had to take that added responsibility of being, we need a wicket, give me the ball, we need runs, I've got to go and make a score. Where in the team, they're sort of bit part players and they get those opportunities for leading roles. So it's more developing their key role responsibilities, and then stepping up as senior players so much in their teams there, and bringing that same attitude into our team, because that's really important. And like Glasgow, she did really well with the bat there, did well with the bat in the regionals last year too. That's why she's a genuine all-rounder. But for her team, she had to score runs because she had to open the batting, and that was her job as well. So she couldn't just throw a wicket away at 15 or 20. She had to go and make the 60s and 70s. And that's what our young batters also need to start developing, that winning games for your team and that mentality that I want to be the player of the match, which, we talk about as a team. That should be everyone's goal when they step out in the field, is to win the game for the team. Obviously, Hayley and Deandra seem to do it more often than most. So, but that's the mentality that Hayley has for sure. And that's something that, the others got to aspire to be as well.
Obviously, we've had the recent high of the World Cup, the T20 World Cup, and I'm gonna be real, Shane. Going into that World Cup,
mate. Bring it on.
Going into that World Cup, I think there was a lot of people in the region who were like, we weren't even sure if the team would be able to get out of the group, because it was a difficult group to be in. England were in there, South Africa were in there. Obviously, South Africa went all the way. And we managed to get to the semis. And in fact, looking back on it now in hindsight, that semi-final
I'm going to talk about the semi-final. If you want me to keep waking up in the middle of the night, screaming in my sleep, let's talk about the semi-final.
No, but when you look back, when you look back in hindsight, we were so close. We were so close to actually getting to the final. Now, obviously, you're going to say yes to this, but was there always the belief that, yeah, this team can make the final? We've got enough within this changing room to shock an England, shock whoever else, and make it all the way.
Yeah, well, the team talk going into like semi-final was the same as we had. Now, after the first game, we were obviously disappointed. The wicket played a little bit different than we thought it would. So we had the first game of the whole tournament at the Dubai Stadium. And we practiced in Dubai a lot, and it was nothing like the wickets we practiced on. So it had a bit more bounce, it was a bit more tennis bally bounce, and we didn't get off to a good start with the bat. And, we're behind the 8 ball. But we sort of said, well, it is what it is now, girls. We've got nothing to lose. Just go out and just take it on, like we talked about. And it was sort of a relief. And we played with a bit of freedom. So we kept that going into that semi-final. I think going back to Sharjah, a really slow wicket sort of cost us because we had a bit of a roll on playing at Dubai. We're playing good there. And then go back to Sharjah, the slower wicket, we didn't quite adjust to. And, I think we didn't have, we had a couple of days from the England game, which is a massive high, to the semi-final where New Zealand had an extra 1 or 2 days from their last match. So it's not like we ran out of puff, but we sort of, just ran out a bit of steam, I guess you would say. But we were full of confidence going in it. We were going like, England's are out, Australia they're the only ones we're really afraid of. Just go in and play. And that was the attitude. But we just sort of got bogged down and didn't get in front of the game at certain stages. And, just fell short, which is obviously heartbreaking. And, we got there and we did the hard part. And probably the part we should have done well was win that semi-final. We didn't get over the line. But that's cricket. And, it was a tough one to take, that's for sure. And most of us aren't over it yet.
Shane, we had Hayley Matthews come on the show last year, and one thing she said was she'd love to at some point play Test cricket, and I think it's something that caught fans by surprise in the region. That West Indies, it was announced West Indies will be playing 3 tests over the next coming years, starting against Australia in about a year's time, March 2026, hosting Australia. Obviously, the last time West Indies women played a test, you were smashing it for South Australia. It was 2004. How do you prepare the players who haven't had any experience of red ball cricket? How are you preparing them for this moving into Test cricket? What has been put in place kind of over the next year?
Yeah, it's a good question. And as I say, with resources limited, and in women's cricket, particularly white ball cricket, is what we play for week in, week out, what we train for. So, Test cricket's great. It's going to be a great experience for the girls. Get the white tie and wear the maroon cap. That's going to be a real privilege. What we're going to do to prepare for it? Well, I think other teams as well around the world, they don't do much preparation as in 4-day domestic cricket or 2-day cricket or whatever. It's sort of, we just got to have a bit of a camp and a plan beforehand and go out and try to play an exciting brand of cricket and just do good things for longer. That's what we talk about ODI cricket. It's not that much difference to T20 cricket, a little bit less risk. We just got to do it for longer. So that's going to be the game plan. And we get one test here, one test this year, one test maybe the year after, etc. So there's no use wasting a lot of resources and trying to be the best test playing nation in the world because it's not going to probably benefit us in the long term. I think it's great that we get it, and we'll set up some internal games, some 2-day cricket, some scenarios, leading up to the test match. But we've got a big series against Sri Lanka before we host Australia in that series, which the ODI games are all World Cup qualifiers. So that's what we'll go really focus on. But the girls are talking about it all the time, and we'll just put a few plans in place. It's 4-day cricket too, not 5 days. So we've got to take it on a bit and drive the game forward. So I reckon we'll play pretty attacking cricket. So expect, Deandra to bat pretty similar to how she normally bats, I think.
I had to unmute myself there. What were we saying? 200 in the first session.
Baseball, mate. Baseball. No, I think we'll be a little bit different than that. But you just got to be a bit more circumspect outside our stump to the new ball. Have spinners with bat pads around a few different fields, but we can't change the way we play in a short period of time and jeopardize our T20 World Cup, which is next year as well in England, and the ODI World Cup this year. Hopefully we qualify. We've got lots going on that we've got to really focus on. As I say, we don't get much time with the girls, and lots of tours coming up. So we're just going to sort of put it together on the day, and well, not quite on the day, but a few camps leading up, have some strategies in place, some game plans, the KPIs, which we do for all our games, and then we'll go from there. But I think Australia first up's a tough one to come back to Test cricket, but we'll give it a go. What we've done well so far is just have a crack. So we're just going to have a crack and take on the opposition with fearless cricket. That's the only way we're going to compete really against teams like Australia, I think, as well.
Speaking of fearless cricket, one of the things that you've changed, one of the most noticeable changes I've seen, is you've moved Kiana Joseph up to open, and she's been the embodiment of fearless cricket. Her game has come on leaps and bounds from where it was when I first saw. In fact, when I first saw her play for West Indies, she was bowling. And she still can bowl, but she's not really being used in that role anymore. She's now. What prompted you, or what was the thinking behind the scenes to be like? First, how did you recognize that Kiana had the potential to move to open, and how did you foster that self-belief in her to say you can play as pivotal a role in the top three as Hayley does, or Deandra when she comes in at 5, etc.? Because it's been a mammoth kind of 180 for Kiana in the last year, I'd say.
It's a credit to her too. And well, as everyone in the street, in taxis, or wherever I go told me, we need more batters than Hayley Matthews and Deandra Dotton in the team, and Stefani. So yes, obviously I know that. And we've got to find ways of how we can identify players and utilise players to their strengths in positions that they're going to make a difference to the match. So we looked at the stats for our T20 cricket, in particular over the last 3 years, and we were only averaging 12 boundaries per 20 overs, where Australia were averaging 20 boundaries. So we're definitely not hitting enough, 4s and 6s. So that's one area we need to improve on. So that's what sort of my hunt was about, trying to find some of these players that could hit more boundaries and play those key roles and take the pressure off those other girls at the top of the order. I won't go into too much, but my background is batting and biomechanics of batting and hitting, power hitting. So I know what I'm looking for in a power hitter, a high back lift, good bat speed, etc., etc. Then I took the A team to Pakistan, and first training session, she was in as a bowler, and I heard all about her, probably a lot of negative things from a lot of people. And then I saw her hit the ball, and I saw this really nice back lift, and then just stroking the ball like this. And I'm saying, girl, what are you talking about? What are you doing here? You can hit the ball miles. So just try to smack the ball miles in the nets. And she did. And then, I opened her against Pakistan A team in the first game. I think she got, which a lot of people were surprised at. And I think she got a first or second ball dark. So soon the madness was over. But now I stuck with her. And she got 40 in the last T20 game there and got out before the end of the power play and smashed it everywhere. So I knew I was on a winner with her. I think that then the key parts were being, in the power play, how her role and how we see her role. And Hayley's helped a lot with this as well. If mid-off is up and mid-on's up, if you don't try to hit a 4 or 6, I'm going to retire you and you're off. You're never going to open the batting again. So don't go out there pushing ones. Just smack it. And if you get out smacking it, well, that's cricket. But that's the role we want you to do. So you're going to get in trouble and not play if you don't take the opposition on. So you got a license to do it, and she can bat, and she got really good technique as well as being over straight bat. She's got great hands, great natural hand-eye coordination, and I think that's probably the thing we worked on the most. And lastly, I'll say, just have fun. She's probably the team clown, so she needs to bring that smile and that fun to her batting. The first game in the World Cup, she was really nervous and sort of froze under pressure and was trying to look good. I said, mate, it's not your job. Your job is just to smack it. Just go out and have fun. If you get out, smile, walk off, because that's you. That's your personality. Bring that personality to your batting, and that's gonna give you the best opportunity and chance to be successful and how we want you to play. So she's taken it on board. She trains really hard, hits lots of balls all the time. Obviously, she's got other areas of a game, and we're trying to work on the running between wickets, fitness, etc., which obviously everyone knows, and she knows. She's really working hard at that. But her batting ethic in the nets, she bats all day if you give her the chance, and she's worked really hard at it and taken the opportunity. And I think at the moment, one of the best probably openers in world cricket.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's why I wanted to have that little focus piece on her, because that's how far I think her game has gone. That and then what I've loved about watching Kiana is that once she gets going, she's not inhibited about what she's doing. Like, if she's in the groove, she's in the groove, and that dismantles any bowling attack, no matter who you are. To try and outthink a batter who believes that they can't get out is a massive thing. Just before I go back to Santoki, just want to touch on just a few of the youngsters. I noticed in that final T20 against Bangladesh in the series just before just recently, that you opened with a top three of Kiana Joseph, Crafton, Glasgow. Gajnabi came in at 5. Mandy Mangru played. Obviously, Zayda James has been in and around it for a bit now. And I took that as pretty instructive to say that there is a strategy to slowly bring in what will likely be the next generation of these players. But as a head coach, how do you walk that fine line between we've got to blood these youngsters and give them goals in critical positions, but at the same time there's matches to win? So how do you walk that fine line?
Yeah, it's a very fine line to walk, because every game you play for West Indies, you got to try to win. There's a lot of people supporting you, but obviously there's bigger picture stuff as well. You got to give players opportunities in different roles. So that was a good opportunity to do that, and give those players a chance to show what they can do at the international stage. The regional cricket's also got to be, which I tell these girls, that's got to be their area where they've got to make some big ODI cricket 100s and T20 cricket some 50s, some 80s, and dominate that regional cricket a bit more too, which they probably haven't done in the past enough. And these opportunities will come around a lot more, but you can't just give players games and opportunities. They've got to work hard and prove to us outside of the game time that they're wanting to step up and take on these roles mentally as well. So it is a fine line. We gave those opportunities to those girls. There's always a few other chances over time where there might be an injury to a player, and there might I think Zayda batted 5 1 or 2 times in the past as well. But there's small opportunities for them to try to give them a chance to have that play one of those roles. So so it's a real fine line, and got Hayley and Deandra and Stefani and Chin and Minnie Campbell. None of those girls want to give up their spots either, to ask them to let someone else have a hit. Trust me, and I don't blame them either, because I wouldn't want to either. So they want to bat all the time as well. So it's a fine balancing act. But we're going to use things like going to Tasmania and other areas and camps to develop their games. But regional cricket is something that they've got to start dominating a lot more, and that's the challenge we've set to them this regional series coming up. Now, I want to see some big 100s for the batters. That's what we haven't seen before. So it's over to you girls to bring those 100s to the regionals and prove to us that you can do the job.
I hear you.
Shane, to wrap up, let's talk about Hayley, because even today she took 3 wickets for Mumbai Indians in the WPL. She's a generational talent. She's one of those players where if you see her play a match, you're surprised if she's not voted player of the match by the end of it. She can, with the bat, with the ball, with the field, just an amazing talent. As a coach, what is it like to work with her on a regular basis?
Well, she keeps telling me after she makes 100, she's making me look good again. So. But I did text her today. She got 17 off 19. I thought she was practicing for next year's test match. She's got to get on with her a bit, Hales. But brilliant to work with. Great captain, great cricket mind for a girl at such a young age. And, the most important relationship I had to build here was with her, because we're going to be on the same page all the time and working together, so the team can also see we'll give them the same messages, be helping them with the same message, and they can then adjust to how we want to play. But she's brilliant to work with. She wants to do everything all the time. If she gets out early or when she didn't play, she's a nightmare in the dugout. So the more she bats, the better for everyone. And I think she hates watching cricket, so she wants to bat all the time. Hence, I think she makes a lot of runs. But she wants to play the big role. She wants to be playing the match every game. You know, she's just hunger to win, and her competitiveness, I think, is probably nearly her best attribute. She wants to win no matter what, and she's going to do what she can to win the game. That's probably her biggest strength. With her captaincy, she's got to be herself. She's a real funny character. Everyone's always taking the mickey out of her a lot in the change room. So it's a really good environment, and she brings her happiness and joyful personality into her captaincy, you know, when needed, and is tough when needed as well. But been great working with her. We get on really well, even though she's an Arsenal supporter. I'm Manchester City supporter, so we have some battles off the field with regards to that. But you know, we're really, it's been a blessing that we've worked so well together and on the same page with a lot of things that we talk about and do. So it's been great, and it's helped me a lot. So I guess she has made me look good, unfortunately.
Out of interest, 1 second there, Santoki. Just out of interest, Shane, and I think you alluded to it earlier on. I know Hayley, when she came on our pod, when she came on the pod, sorry, she mentioned this. Hayley said that when she was younger, she played like boys cricket in Barbados. How important is it to do that as a young lady coming through the system to play with the boys? Or would you advocate that you just have to improve the women's structure in general? And like, where do you stand on that? Because you made mention of it about the Cherian and Cole playing some boys cricket in Australia when they were out there. So where do you stand on that as a metric of development?
Yeah, I think both. I think if you want to challenge yourself against better players, obviously men's cricket is one way of doing that quite easily. Has to be the right environment, obviously, and safe and everything for the girls. But growing up, you know, didn't Mitchell Stark and Healy play together before they got married? So I think, and I don't know, the Bangladesh girls, when you talk to them, I used to coach them, that they grew up playing with the boys in the streets, etc. So I think it's a common thing to happen. As you get older, obviously, it gets a bit more difficult and more challenges. But if you've got the right environment, I think it's something that should happen a bit more. Play against, you know, under 17 boys teams, etc. for warm-ups. And when we go overseas, all the net bowlers are generally males who bowl to us in the nets all the time. So the girls are accustomed to playing against the men and training with them. So I think it's a good thing to happen. But obviously, at the same time, we've got to strengthen the women's game as well. So I think both areas need to happen. And if you want to play against the best, you can play against the boys. That's going to give you a great grounding to play, women's cricket, play against the best women in the world.
So Santoki, you know what I'm saying? That means we can call Hayley up then. We can call her out.
She might embarrass a few of you guys. Though,
I was going to say that's exactly what I'm saying. I've been saying, Hayley knows I've been saying this now for about a year.
What if she gets you out, mate? You're going to get so much ribbing in the change rooms, mate. Like.
All right, Shane.
That's okay. Over to you.
Yeah, Shane. We know you've got some jerk pork awaiting you, so we won't keep you too much longer. Final question: you've been based in the Caribbean now for just about a year and a half. Where has been your favorite place to watch cricket in the Caribbean? What ground?
Well, I've spent a lot of time in Trinidad watching cricket. Nice ground, Brian Lara, but it's a terrible drive down there. That's for sure. But I watched a few games in Barbados when I first arrived, and I think that's one of the heartbeats of cricket in the Caribbean. But one thing I'm a bit disappointed at is, like, I drive past the recreational ground here in Antigua, and that was everything watching cricket as a youngster. That ground it's an icon, and it's a shame that we're not able to use it, or it's not getting used at the moment. But that was probably the ground I wanted to see the most. I'm really looking forward to going to Sabina Park. That was one I used to watch a lot as a kid. But I think watching the games in Barbados was really good. So we're going there later in a few months, but we're not playing at the main ground, unfortunately. But the other one is what's Queen's Park. I was probably really enjoyed it there on a men's CPL night. That was rocking. That was real good.
It's the Queen's Park Oval and Providence are notorious on the CPL night for probably the best atmosphere.
That was real good. That was real good.
So listen, Shane, we're gonna let you go and have your food. But listen, thank you so much for giving up some of your time this evening to talk us through women's cricket. Hopefully, you'll come back on the show later on in the year. We obviously all the best of luck with the World Cup qualifiers. In fact, they start in a couple of months, so you don't even have that much rest before they get going. So you got the World Cup qualifiers. Hopefully we get through those. Got the World Cup, and then we got the T20 World Cup the following year. But as you say, are you going to be watching some of the the domestic Super 50?
Yeah. Flying out to St Kitts on Sunday, so I'll be there for the whole time watching all the games. Mm-hmm. Few set up on the computer at Warner Park, and obviously watching the main one there as well. So I'll get across all those games.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, guys, also I watched a few episodes, and you do support the women's game well. So thank you, and you do offer some good insights into the women's games too. So thank you for your support, and I would love to come on anytime and chat with you guys. Of course, it's a privilege to be here.
No worries. Thank you so much, Shane. Go and enjoy your food.
Can't wait. Brilliant.
And thank you so much for coming on.
7:15, mate. 7:15. Dinner time.
We'll let you go. Thank you so much, Shane.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Later. That was Shane Deitz, people, head coach of the West Indies women's team. He's off to go and eat his jerk chicken and jerk pork. We've been the Caribbean Cricket Podcast as ever, with all of our episodes. You can find us on any of the social media handles, Instagram, X, TikTok, Discord, Patreon, Facebook, Blue Sky. And I just today set up the official Caribbean Cricket Podcast LinkedIn page. I know, Santoki, I know. As if I'm even gonna have time to update that. But someone told me that we have to look more professional, and to look more professional, you have to have your podcast as a LinkedIn page. So anyone who cares about that, we're on there officially on the LinkedIn page. So maybe we'll get a sponsorship, Santoki. Now we're on LinkedIn.
That's the dream. Exactly. It's that good.
If anyone wants to support us financially, you can head to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Santoki, last words to you.
Yeah, well, Mash, I'm glad you finally got vindication about Hayley Matthews being able to play in the men's game after that almighty cuss out you got when the video dropped of you stating it. So it's a great day for Mash. Hope everyone's enjoyed the episode. As we said, CCP, we're out here trying to get, guests on a regular basis. We've been keeping it up on a weekly basis. So keep an eye out for more announcements. We'll have more content over the coming days about different topics in West Indies cricket, men's, women's, youth level, CCP, we cover it. Despite what other channels are claiming, we're the number one for West Indies cricket news and analysis. Thank you and good night.
Later, people.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.